Hi everyone, happy 2024. My name is Sam, aka Yo Samdy Sam, and today I want to discuss whether it's a good idea to turn your special interest into a business. So for some background, last year I was developing part of my own business, which is part of the reason I was posting less frequently here on YouTube. And what I do now, in addition to being here and making content for this platform, is I help neurodivergent entrepreneurs, creators, and business owners reach their goals in a neurodivergent friendly way. And in that process, I've talked to a lot of people who are unhappy in their current work and they want to change, which is specifically to use their special interest as a way to make money and support them. So I thought this would be a great idea for a video. I'm not here to tell you what to do. This is more about stimulating your own thought process. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Now, on the surface, turning your special interest into a business seems like a perfect solution for many autistic people. You might be struggling with the demands of a regular 9-to-5 or corporate life. You might really know a lot about an area and be very passionate about it. Or you might want to earn money in a way that really aligns with your values. But, and I hope this isn't going to burst too many people's bubbles, I think that for many of us, we can focus so much on the concept of special interest that we lose sight of the business part of it. It may not be something that you're particularly interested in. You are focusing on your passion. But if you're considering this path for yourself, you really need to ask yourself, do I actually want to run a business? Think about this. How would you cope with managing taxes, your accounts, sales, and marketing? Regardless of your industry, these are a part of almost every business. Do you have the necessary skills, or can you get support? Do your neurodivergent traits directly impact any of these, making them impossible or perhaps unbearable to deal with alone? For example, keeping your accounts when you have dyscalculia may not be so much fun for you. But I'm not saying that if you struggle with any of these, you shouldn't run a business. What I am saying is these things need to be done and someone needs to do them. If not you, then who? The reality is you may need to pay someone to do them for you. By the way, if you are in the UK with a diagnosis, please do look into Access to Work. It's a program that can support you with some of the areas that you struggle with, and I'll link it below if you want to find out more. I also think it's important to examine the mentality that I see a lot of people that say, I want to start a business, but I just want to make a little bit of extra on the side. There's nothing really wrong with this, but I do believe that it's going to end up burning you out because any business is going to have a bunch of core admin stuff, all of this stuff that needs to be done regardless of how much money you make. So the amount of work that you're doing is going to be a certain amount anyway, even if you're just working at a small scale. And limiting yourself to a very modest income goal is probably going to make things harder for you because things become much easier in business when you have a little bit more money coming in because, maybe you can afford to pay someone to help you with the things that you find harder, for example. It's probably also true in life. The more money that you have, the easier things become because you can get people's help. I think a lot of people think that it's greedy or selfish to have aspirations for more money, or maybe they just can't ever see themselves making that amount. So they aim for an amount that they can visualize or that seems safe and familiar to them. But there are a lot of hidden expenses involved in running a business, depending on your industry, of course. And I get that capitalism is bad and some of us are morally opposed, but you also need to eat, you need to pay your rent or your mortgage, and you may even want to have something left over to do something fulfilling for yourself once in a while. So setting low expectations for yourself from an income perspective may be a form of self-sabotage before you've even begun. So that's just something to think about because it's going to be a lot of work setting up and running a business and you deserve to be paid for that work. And when you're working for yourself, you're in charge of generating the income. You're in charge of giving yourself a raise. So are you being a cheapskate with yourself? Money mindset is really a big topic to go into right now, so maybe it's worth reflecting on some of your own personal money blocks, because I've noticed that a lot of the times we're actually the ones standing in our own way because we're scared. So it's really better to understand a little bit more about your own fears and your own blocks sooner rather than later. The next thing to think about is, am I able to learn new skills easily? Setting up a business is a steep learning curve, and if you're on your own, especially before you can afford to outsource, you will need to learn and develop a lot of skills as you go. Does this sound like a fun challenge or a stressful nightmare? The answer is important. So before I started this YouTube channel, I kind of preloaded my skills, as it were. After my first child was born, I used to spend a lot of time sitting on the sofa feeding them. And so during that time, I watched a lot of content about YouTube strategy, growing your channel, and best practices for content creation. And that sounds like a brag, or like, oh yeah, like super mom or something. That was kind of my special interest at the time. So I was just watching that as opposed to like watching anything else. And I'm totally not saying that postpartum mothers should be doing this. I get it. But what I am saying is that you can start learning these skills now before you make any financial or other commitment to your business journey. And you will be constantly learning and refining your skills. So this process is important, and it's important that it's enjoyable for you. And now comes the slightly bitter pill to swallow. I want you to ask yourself honestly, is my special interest remotely profitable? I know a lot of people get stuck on incorporating the specific thing they love with the ability to make money, but not every special interest is going to make money or be decently profitable enough to be worth it. And like I said, this is probably a bitter pill to swallow, but sometimes it just takes a bit of reframing to think about how you can make this work. So for example, let's say that you love to crochet. Probably many of you do, I do as well. And you think, I'm going to start a business crocheting cute things and sell them on Etsy. And this is a lovely idea. I know a lot of people do it. I've spoken to them, and it might be fulfilling, but it's not really profitable because customers, firstly, the average customer has no idea how long it takes to crochet something. So you're generally not going to be paid appropriately for the amount of hours you put in. And that really pushes the profitability down. You're going to spend a lot of time and a lot of energy working on something that is not actually going to give you much of a return. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. But what I am saying is, if you look at things a little bit differently, if your love is crochet, maybe there are some ways to incorporate more profitable business activities to support that love. You can still make things and sell them on Etsy, but maybe you could boost your income related to crochet. For example, selling digital patterns, online or offline courses or workshops, or you could maybe even start a YouTube channel about crochet, which is not exactly a quick way to make an income, but it is certainly possible. So it's all about looking at things from a different perspective. If your special interest isn't profitable, how could it be profitable? I absolutely don't want to crush anyone's dreams. I think it's really important to have dreams, but I also want people to be aware of the reality that running a business is a lot of hard work, and it's going to require some core skills and some core actions that will need to be done. Some might say they're quite boring. And I think it's really important to take an honest look at yourself, your strengths and weaknesses, and your passions, your values, all of these things, and think about what is actually going to suit me. Maybe there's some kind of a compromise to be made. If you don't have the skills for the business side of things, maybe you could find a business partner and you could be the creative one and they could be the business one. I know that some people also worry about losing their passion for their special interest by turning it into a business, and that's a very valid concern, I think. I think you can also get an idea of whether that's likely to happen, whether you're the sort of person that has a lot of passions and then drops them very quickly, or whether you have things that have kind of stayed with you throughout your life and you think, actually, this is kind of a core part of the things that I'm good at and the things that I like doing. And maybe it's not about what your passion is at that particular time. Maybe it's about the skills that you've developed along the way that can help support a business regardless of what your current passion is. I hope this has prompted you to think about things a little bit differently. If you are a neurodivergent business owner or wannabe business owner, I do have a mailing list specially for us spicy business brains, as I call us, where I share more content and tips. So do sign up for that if you're interested. The link is down below and it's absolutely free. So what are you waiting for? Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye.